All right, so I'm just doing a quick live. I'm really just trying to test out my internet connection. I was having some issues with my ISP, and I just want to make sure that it's not gonna do that whole kicking me off the internet thing. God, it was so frustrating. I live in a house full of gamers and streamers, so it's really frustrating when you have like gig speed internet that you can't use. Everybody was getting kicked off in the middle of games and in the middle of movies, and it was frustrating. I have really missed being online and just like making the videos, talking about the cases, keeping these kids' names out there. And it's funny because I said to a friend today that you never really know how much you'll miss something until it's gone. Hey Tammy, glad to see you in the chat. Ah, so far the holiday season has been wonderful. Um, November is a very emotional month for me. We had some things go on last year in November that one day I'll eventually tell you about because it's relevant and it's a topic that we should address. But that was offset by my oldest daughter came out for the weekend after Thanksgiving, so I had all of my grandkids, and we just had like a really good time. Games all night, movies all night. Well, all of them except the new. We have a new baby who was born, I believe it was on the 21st of November. She is the only grandbaby who was not here. Um, I don't know. It was an amazing time. I did recently, a few days ago, end up having to go back to the hospital with my heart. They didn't keep me this time though, thank God. They just gave me an IV dose of some meds, made it calm down, and I got to come home. So no sitting up in the hospital rooms. That's a good thing. Like I said, I really just wanted to test out my connection and make sure that my internet connection is stable so that I can do some lives. The first one I'm going to present is going to be tomorrow. I'm going to try to do it in the daytime, but it might end up being tomorrow night around this time. There was a spate of young girls going missing in Bakersfield, California over the first few weeks of November. I found 8 cases, all of them between the ages of 14 and 17, all of them first time missing, all of them relatively petite, 5'3", 5'4". And when I mapped it out, they all disappeared from a relatively small area. I mean, it's crazy that that many young girls would go missing within like a 2 or 3 week period, all from the same general area. I mean, some of them were spitting distance from the other. So, two of them have been found. I'm going to go into that. So, that's what we're looking at for. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that had to be so absolutely terrifying. Are you okay? I mean, was it a massive stroke or was it relatively minor? But yeah, one thing I did want to touch on today is, well, technically yesterday now, since we're about 30 minutes into the next day, but Summer Wells has been missing for 6 months to the day. And it's crazy that we don't have any more clues, any more insight. And over the time that I've been gone, I've really been thinking a lot about Summer's case. By me having more time to look at other people's videos, uh, get get active in more like Facebook groups and pages that follow true crime. Oh well, let's not call it up working for a bigger one. We're just gonna say that this is it. It's not gonna get any worse than that. Um, Yeah, we don't want major strokes and heart attacks at all. But yeah, it's funny that over these last few months, these 6 months, we've seen her parents do different interviews. There have been so many leaked phone calls, so many air quotes, confidential or anonymous, reliable sources who have just muddied the water with so many ridiculous claims and theories. And in all truth, we still don't know any more about what happened on 6/15 today than we knew on 6/15. Out of all this talking, all of these lives, all of these interviews, all of these just social media groups, no real information or clues have actually come out. And the things that have come out have just been like scandal, rumor, overblown, ridiculous theories. And some of this stuff I can't even believe that any person who sincerely is trying to help in that case, some of the things that are being posted are so ridiculous till I just can't believe that anyone sincere would push that. You know, um, the whole thing about the homemade flower bed that's on top of the grandparents' grave. Like how far do you have to reach down past the bottom of the barrel to dig up a theory like that? I mean, it's just crazy, and it's not helpful to bringing Summer home at all. Um, the whole thing with people going on their property and flying drones over there, and really and truly, I feel like this in all this time. Okay, we've seen Don and Candace on all kind of lives, apparently intoxicated or high out of their minds, and their story essentially has not changed. They're basically saying the same thing today that they were saying last month and the month before, all the way back to June. So I kind of feel like now continuing to um, put them on lives and put out. Yeah, I heard about that, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's on the list. But I feel like continuing to put center stage to the drama uh, surrounding all the people in Summer's life is just not beneficial. And at this point, it's really just more like some kind of sick entertainment for certain people because it's really and truly not helpful. It really isn't. The accusations from the stepsisters now over the course of this case, and I try to take in information, look at it from all points of view. I try to look at stuff as if, okay, how does it make them look guilty? How does it make them not look guilty? Where does it point a finger to? Where does it not point a finger to? I try to look at it from all different angles. Like with their first interview, when I listened to them, I tried to listen with ears that were trying to hear deception and uh, we all know those fake parents that do things to their kids and then they get on TV and cry and, oh, I just want my baby back, knowing that they've already done whatever they did to the kid. I try to listen with an ear listening for that. I try to listen with an ear of um, looking for sincere grief, sincere emotion, because not everybody reacts to things the same way. And so when the accusations came out from the sisters, then I looked at that from more than one point of view. Okay, I I advocate for anyone who is a victim of any type of abuse, especially that type of abuse, and especially as a child. But I have to say that just because an accusation is made does not necessarily mean that an accusation is true. I have to look at from a non-biased standpoint. I have to ask myself a lot of questions. Did do they have sincere reasons for saying this? Did they really think at the time that they made that phone call that bringing that up at that particular time would be beneficial or helpful to understanding what happened to Summer? Or is this some deep seated, I don't know, angst against Don, and this was a prime opportunity to get some type of revenge. And I'm not saying that either of those is what happened. I just say I try to look at things from all different angles because, in all honesty, I would like to believe somebody wouldn't make an accusation like that for any reason other than the fact that it's true. But we who follow true crime also know that these types of accusations are often thrown about for ulterior motives. So, as far as with me, I'm still watching and waiting to see where that goes. Specifically speaking to Mary's incident where she actually pressed charges some years ago and then she was forced by her parents to drop the charges. I do give a lot of credibility to her because at the time that it happened, she would have been a minor. She would have been under the control of her parents, and that was a different day and age. 40 years ago was not like today when it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. If you make a claim, people are going to listen. They're going to investigate. They're not just going to sweep it under the rug because your parents said, oh, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to handle it at home or whatever. So it was a whole different scenario back then. It is very likely that what she's saying is 100% true and that she was forced to drop those charges. And if that is the case, then I hope that there is a way that those charges can be reinstated and that Don can receive his just rewards for what he did. If they're not true, then I just hope the truth about the matter comes out in a clear way. Now, having said that, I try to look at things from all different angles. I have to look at, I'm on the fence about Don and Candace. I always have been because one day I'll see and hear things that make me think, okay, they really are grieving parents. They're just handling it different than what other people might think it should be handled. They're not reacting the way most people think that they would react in that situation, but everybody handles something differently. Then another day, I'm like, yeah, they're guilty of sin. They did it. They know something. I don't know how they're keeping the secret that long. If you go on my Facebook page, I made a post today where I kind of, like I said, I've just been thinking a lot about these cases and the time that I haven't been on YouTube. And I made a post today specifically about that theory that Grandis somehow rescued Summer and took her somewhere and she's waiting for the heat to die down, to move her again or bring her back or whatever. And I'm going to make a few more posts like that on my Facebook page because I really do have a lot of thoughts about these cases. Tammy, would you say that's crazy what people are doing because it's not helping her? I listened to her and she really did that to his, and he really did that to his stepsister. I've been a victim. She called the police from the beginning. She talked about with love. Yeah. Now Mary, I believe I do, simply because it, like I said, it was a different ball game 40 years ago than it is today. Today, had that happened, there's no way that the police or prosecution or protective services or whoever would have allowed her parents to force her to drop those charges. So Mary, I believe 100%. I am on the fence about some other things simply because of things that I've researched and looked into and learned. And I would very much like to share them here on YouTube, but I already know that that will turn into a hot mess. Yeah, now Tammy, there's a thing though, that law when it was enacted to make the statute of limitations on those type of charges to make it to where there's no statute of limitations on it was not enacted retroactively. So there's a question as to whether or not her case would fall within whatever time frame that change in the law covers. Chris McDonough talked a little bit about it, but you have to kind of take what he says with a grain of salt because he has an agenda. But there's a question as to whether or not she fell into a time frame where there would be no statute of limitations on her claims. I have heard rumors that that case has gone from being a police report and has been sent over to the DA's office and that it's being looked into. So this is probably getting close to where we're going to know whether or not her case falls into the no statute of limitations realm or not. And I'm expecting that since the police there have already done like the footwork, I assume, as far as investigating the claims of the charges being dropped by force, et cetera, I'm assuming that since they've already done that groundwork, then what the prosecution is doing right now is looking into how it fits with that change in the law. The Cornbread Mafia. I'm sorry. Every time I hear that, I just want to crack up because it just sounds like something the kids made up in the backyard. We're the Cornbread Mafia. I'm going to say this. I'm going to chalk that up to, excuse me, outrageous theory. Oh, God, I'm dry and I don't even have anything to drink in my cup. This is, when I look at this case, I see this as by the time it's resolved, whenever Summer is found, however she is found, whether it's rescue or recovery, it's going to end up being something really simple. It's not going to be any of these outlandish, she was sold for drugs, she was trafficked, the Cornbread Mafia, the Mexican Mafia, Grandis rescued. It's not going to be any of that stuff. I think when it boils down to it and a resolution is come to, it's going to end up being that there was an accident that was covered up or there was an intentional act that was covered up. I don't think it's going to be any of that crime novel extra stuff that everybody keeps throwing out there. I really don't feel like Don or Candace, although they have drug problems, and Don claims that he tried to sell drugs or traffic drugs or whatever it is, I don't think that they have the ranking or the standing in that type of community or the connections in that type of community to be able to do some of the things that people are suggesting were done. You'll find, if you know addicts, or if you were an addict or associated with addicts, you know that there are addicts who will sell a small amount of drugs to support their habit. If their habit is crack, they'll sell meth. If their habit is heroin, they'll sell powdered cocaine. But they're not big time. They're basically pushing enough product to be able to afford their product. And if anything, I want to say that that's what the case is with Don. And a lot of times you'll hear, where I grew up, I encountered a lot of different type of people. I was associated with a lot of different type of people. I got some stories I could tell, and I probably never will. But a lot of times you'll find where an addict who sells to support their habit, when we look at them from the outside, they may look fully functional. They may look like it's all together. Their habit isn't really that bad. And they may be able to pull off just enough bells and whistles that people actually think they're selling a decent amount of dope. And the truth is, they really aren't. They're just good at making it look good. And I can't even say that Don and Candace are good at making it look good because aside from that new car, they really don't have any of the bells or whistles. If you look at their house, they don't have big TVs, nice furniture, expensive electronics, tablets, and phones, and all this stuff. They don't have all that stuff. So I want to say they're just low level addicts. Don is probably just playing up uh, the magnitude of his involvement with that type of criminal enterprise. I don't think he was really ever trafficking or doing whatever he claims he was doing in Mexico and all this other stuff. I just don't believe it. But back to the Grandis theory. I was saying I made a post today because that is such a ridiculous theory. You have to think about this. There's an old adage that says two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. Taking it a little further, the more people that you let in on the secret, the less secret it becomes. In order for them to have pulled off any type of scenario where Summer was taken alive by a family member somewhere else for her own protection, it would necessarily involve too many people for it to have been kept a secret this long. Because people just don't keep secrets. They talk. They feel the need to brag. They feel the need to boast. Someone would feel the need to, I know Summer's alive, and I can tell you how I know Summer's alive. I can tell you where she is or where she went or who did it. People are going to talk. When people know secrets like that, they can't hold water. Not for this long and consistently. Another thing I want to know if you guys are interested in hearing about, I've really been looking at cases where homeschooling and child abuse go hand in hand. If you're not familiar with the Wimbush children, I'm sure you've heard of the Turpin children. They've been in the news a lot lately. Then there was Ariel Sellers. There was Imani Moss, Dakota Collins. And all of those cases, one, two, three of them ended in the death of a child. Two of them involved severe abuse and neglect of children. All of them had in common that these children were homeschooled. Um, if that is something that people listening to the video are interested in, seeing a series about, getting more information about, maybe doing a couple of lives and talking about it, then by all means, drop it in the comments. Let me know that you're interested in that, and I'll go ahead and start presenting that. And Tammy, you said, I think you do say how people made a mockery of this child missing. I don't think they're smart enough to cover it up. You said it. That's it in a nutshell. And I really and truly have never thought that Don and Candace were bright enough to pull off this massive conspiracy that everybody seems to be adamant that they've pulled off. I'm sorry, but I just don't. It doesn't even line up. You can't say on the one hand this person is a rampant drug addict, they're on lives wasted out of their mind, and then at the same time say they're smart enough to pull off this big scheme. It doesn't add up. Um, we can tell by the fact that they get into it, they call police, they have all kind of stuff going on at their house. It wouldn't hold up. That theory doesn't add up. Um, I was about to say something and I lost my train of thought. The homeschooling, yeah, make sure you drop that in the comments if you're listening to this video and you are interested in uh, going further into that. Let me know if you know of any cases that I haven't mentioned. Drop that in the comments and I'll do some research on that and add it to the file. Oh, another thing that I was working on was I was trying to get an Amazon wish list set up for Ariel's sisters. I remember when the case came to light in Houston, where the mother and her boyfriend left three three children in the house with the remains of their brother, whom the mother's boyfriend had beaten to death. That one of the caseworkers who was interviewed had said they have a system where they set up an Amazon list for children or other victims of crimes, and the public can basically go in and buy things off the list and those things will get to the child. Um, I wanted to do something like that for Ariel. I had been in contact with Honolulu Police Department, and they said that they don't feel they should be point on that because they are actively investigating that case, and that kind of makes sense. I'm not familiar with Hawaii. I'm not familiar with like local smaller charities or organizations who may be able to run point on that, be a receiving station, a receiving agent for items for the girls to make sure that they get to the girls. If you are listening and you are in Hawaii or Honolulu and you are familiar with local reputable agencies that may be willing to act as a receiving agent for gifts for Ariel's siblings from the public, please contact me. You can comment on this video. You can email me at Miss Savage Says, all one word, at gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter, Savage underscore says underscore TCN, and Facebook, Savage Says TCN. That's something that I really want to see happen. I was hoping I could put something together before the holidays. But even if it's after the holidays, I think that there are enough people out there who want to show some love to these kids who've been through so much that before, after, during, whenever we can get it together, I'm sure people want to help these girls out and just let them know that there are people out here who support them, who love them, you know, that the world is not as horrible as the Kaluas are. Tell me about homeschooling. It said, I don't just homeschooling. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about it, and I think I'm going to do that soon because homeschooling can be a wonderful thing, and I don't want anyone to feel like I'm downing homeschooling. It's just that it can also be used to hide the things that are going on. With Ariel's case, she was already being actively abused for a while, and then the Kaluas decided to pull her out of regular school and homeschool her. With Imani Moss, same thing. She had been being abused for a while, and then the decision was made to pull her out of regular school and to put her in homeschooling. And at one point, the stepmother who is responsible for her death, the father is responsible as well, but the stepmother who is directly responsible for her death was actually getting online and doing Imani's work as if the child were still alive and well and doing her schoolwork. Um, with the Wimbush children and the Turpin children, we see they were homeschooled and they essentially had zero contact with the outside world. So there was no one there to see. They didn't come into contact with people who would see what was going on and be able to report it. Like even neighbors in some of those cases didn't realize that there were even children living in the home. Dakota Collins, that poor child went through years and years and years of pure hell that ended up with him dying a god awful death that I'm not even going to go into details on because it is so sickening and disgusting. It is on YouTube. You can look it up. Takoda, Takoda Collins, Collins. And his case is just, God, it's so sad. Like, um, so I definitely am going to go into that because I think there needs to be more guidelines because really you don't have to have any type of, all you have to do is turn in a piece of paper that says I'm going to homeschool my kid. There's no requirements for curriculum. There's no requirements that they have some type of contact with mandatory reporters or to be brought in. There's no requirements for them to have like something saying they've been to a doctor every 3 or 4 months or once a year or something. There's nothing. There's zero supervision. It's just, I'm going to homeschool my kid, and then you might not ever teach them a thing. Just keep them at the house and let them run wild or beat them or whatever it is you're going to do because there's no accountability. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of corruption involved in a lot of that because when it deals with, as we've seen in Ariel's case, Sleuth Mom really brought to light how financially motivated CPS is in the way that they handle these children. Um, and if CPS is that motivated, then you have to believe that others are getting kickbacks. We've seen cases where judges were getting kickbacks from various juvenile programs for sending kids to their program. The judges were receiving money. So if the judges and CPS are receiving money, who's to say the prosecutors aren't? Who's to say that the police department isn't? If you meet this quota and you put so many kids in the system in some form, you're going to get X amount of dollars. So there's definitely corruption whenever you're dealing with money and whenever people become a resource as opposed to people. Um, I'm really glad that my connection has been stable so that I can now start doing more getting back on here. I really miss being on here. I miss like just talking about the kids and keeping their names out there, keeping their faces out there. This live is really kind of disorganized and just kind of go as you will. But like I said, I wasn't really planning anything specific for this live. Uh, was there anything else I wanted to talk about tonight? I think really that's kind of it. I'm just glad that I can be back on here. I look forward to spending some more time on here, bringing some more good information. Make sure you follow me on Facebook and Twitter because I post on Twitter quite often. I get into more different types of cases on Twitter. Like on here, I really mostly posted about Summer, Ariel, some Amber Alerts, and a few other missing people. But on Twitter, I kind of get into the conversation with like the trials that are going on right now, the Kim Potter trial and the Dante Wright death, um, some other missing people. What's the rest? Yes, I saw that, um, and that's crazy for that child to be gone for a year. And she's kind of like the mirror image of what went on with Ariel. Like with Ariel, it was the foster parents, taken from the parents and given to the foster parents. And then with that baby, she was taken from the foster parents and given to the parents. And it did not turn out well. So I did not read that about her sister or sibling saying that the wolf ate her. That is disturbing. I may look into that a little bit, but I think her case is getting a lot of coverage. I've seen her all over Twitter. I've seen her posted a lot on Facebook, and I've seen several videos about her on YouTube. So I'm probably not going to get very deep into her case. I may touch on it if it is really kind of relevant to some other cases that I'm looking at. But other than that, um, I probably won't touch it though. I really want to kind of stay away from cases that most people are covering for the simple fact that there's more than one or two missing people out there, and while I realize that not everyone can or will get the coverage that say Gabby Petito got when her story came to light, not every case is going to get that type of coverage and media attention, but I think that for all of us creators who have a platform to be able to present things to the public, to be able to have a voice in the conversation, be it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, whatever your platform is, I think that we should make it our business to give more attention to those that mainstream media doesn't really find newsworthy or noteworthy or whatever. I have never heard of Miss Minsky Enterprise. And the Guardian. What about a Guardian ad litem? What case is that from? I can imagine. I mean, if you dive deep enough into any of this stuff, you'll find some amazing things. You'll definitely find some stuff to make you scratch your head. Um, yeah, but I was saying on Twitter, I get into a lot more current events. I had started on the channel here, posting like short videos for Amber Alerts, but I'm switching to posting that on Twitter and Facebook because it's more doable. I can easily, quickly share Amber Alerts to Twitter and Facebook, just with the touch of a button, as opposed to sitting down and making a video and having to edit and find pictures and research articles and all this stuff and get a video up in time for it to really make any impact on the case. I've seen once where a couple of times actually, where I went to make a video for an Amber Alert that I saw just pop up. And by the time I got the video together and edited, the Amber Alert had been canceled. The kid had been found. So I'm putting Amber Alerts on Facebook and Twitter, mainly on Twitter, because it's quicker, it's more convenient, and I can get the information out there faster. Facebook is going to be more of a discussion forum. People are welcome to bring ideas to the channel, to the page, uh, share their ideas, their thoughts, their theories. I'll make groups on there. If a conversation gets to uh, where we need to kind of centralize it and focus it, then I'll make groups on there for it. The only group on there right now is for Ariel. It's not a very large group. And honestly, I probably will take down that particular group. Sleuth Mom has a very large and active uh, group for Ariel, and I think it's best, like, if we just kind of keep that information centralized. It's a lot more active. She has a larger audience, and I think it's best if we just like kind of slide over to her Facebook page. So make sure you go over there, like her page, share it, join some groups, like her YouTube videos, and share them. She's doing some amazing things for the kids in these cases, not just the kids, but all the victims that she covers. Um, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. It's been about 38 minutes. Connection has been stable. I have been kicked offline once, and I'm happy with that. Tammy, do you have like a Facebook page or YouTube channel or Twitter? Because if you do, I would really like to like, share, and follow. So again, I will drop the links for my other social medias in the description when I update it. Make sure you get at me on Facebook and on Twitter. I really want to grow the Twitter because it's lightning fast communication. It is a way that we can really get information shared and spread almost instantaneously with so many people. We can get a lot more out, in a tweet, exposed to a lot more people in a tweet than on a video, you know. So I'm out of here. I will definitely be back tomorrow. As I said, I don't know if it will be in the daytime or if it will be around this time tomorrow night, but keep your eyes open. And I will be talking about the Bakersfield girls when I come back. Thanks for joining me, Tammy. Really appreciate that. You are one of my true troopers, and I'll see you when I come back.